Hello, everybody. Shaquita Graham here with my sister, my friend, my business partner, Nomalanga, Mhlauli-Moses. Together, we are Married Women's Married Women's Business, and you can reach us at marriedwomensbiz.com. Also, if you're interested in building high-income tech careers, get free information at a free webinar. Go to blacktechguide.net. So, how are you doing today, Noma?
I'm doing great, Shaquita. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Let's just dive into this topic about Jill Scott and her divorce after 15 months. Wow. So Jill Scott reportedly filed for divorce on September 15th from her ex, Mike Dobson. She's 45, he's 49. What's interesting is that Mike Dobson had quite a mouthful to say about the reasons behind their divorce, although the divorce decree cited inappropriate marital conduct. He says that Jill Scott is an evil woman. He says that Jill Scott wants what Jill Scott wants, and that people are in her ear. But he even got more specific, saying that she's, quote, she's got issues. There's no men in that family. There's only women. And when a man comes in, it's like a challenge. He also said, based on this gossip article, reportedly, his quote is, she's made other men look bad, but I'm not the one. I said to her, you've met your match. He also says she likes to have men that she can control. You're not going to control me. Lastly, one of the quotes he said is that she likes to emasculate men. That's her problem. So, wow, Noma. He had a lot to say about Jill Scott. What are your thoughts?
What a mess, right? What a mess. The first thing that I thought about was that I wonder if they should even get a divorce. They should probably just get an annulment. Because I personally feel they shouldn't have gotten married in the first place. Just the fact that they were only married 15 months and they already have this many issues just already shows that they shouldn't have gotten into what they're in right now. But to dissect it a little bit more, one of the things that really stuck out to me, and I said this before we started recording, was that he said, she comes from a family where there are no men, no men at all. So that already informs us that Jill Scott doesn't know how to be a wife or how to treat a man, and he's giving us all, the feedback, which is very sad. But I will say also, based on what he's saying, saying that, I'm not the one, you met your match and all this other stuff, that sounds like a man fighting another man. And I personally feel a better quality man would not go at it like that with a woman. What do you think?
Yeah, first I want to just say, of course, we don't know Jill Scott or Mike Dobson, but we're using this entertainment issue that's highly visible in our community and of high interest, most likely, because it uncovers some things, some issues that we can get takeaways from. In this situation with Jill Scott, I love Jill Scott, her music or whatnot. I don't know that she's a mean person, but let's just say that she is, or even if she isn't, the issue of having a marriage where there's disrespect directed towards the male is a major problem that women of all shades need to pay attention to and have issues with. So please don't get in these comments unless you want to get deleted talking about, the black men this or black women that or black marriage this, because this is about applying proper techniques in order to make your marriage strong. So again, back to this disrespect thing. This issue is something that's common with women who do not understand the love language or the expectation of men in relationships. So many times we can inadvertently or not purposely, we can be directing disrespect to our mate. And the thing that we don't understand is that causes a man to just completely cut you off. Like, you can get nowhere from there with a man. There's just nowhere to go. And that could be a reason why it ended so fast. Except, like you said, maybe they should have seen that before they got married. So that's just to start with.
Right. And you know what kind of always makes me upset is that I think we often will take a lot of time to go to college, spend 4 damn years, and get into our eyeballs in debt, right? To
Right.
go figure out how to go get a job or whatever it is. But ultimately, what are you really doing? You're trying to figure out what your employer needs and what your employer wants, how you need to conduct yourself in an interview, and so on and so on, so that they can form a relationship with you where you're the employee and they're the employer. But
Right.
you'll find that people don't do this much when it comes to marriage. They just stagger into it and then act surprised that it didn't work. And I'm so glad you brought up the respect element, because that's like marriage 101 if you're a woman. And if you cannot fully understand that or accept it, then just don't bother getting married. Just don't do it, because it won't work. And again, I said this before, I just really have to wonder, why did they even get married? Why? Why did they get married? Were they trying to build a strong marriage, a strong family? Were they trying to become pillars of society and the community? What were they doing? And if they were, how did they demonstrate that in their marriage? You have him talking about her being an evil person, and not really. He's saying she's an evil person and she's surrounded by all these women. For me, if I had a son who was about to marry a woman, and I saw that this woman came from a family where there was only women, I would ask some questions. You understand? In fact, there's a lot of things that make you ask questions, but we can already see, which is why I'm suggesting maybe an annulment is better. You can already see there's so many issues and questions that were not addressed before they even went into it. And of course, they were doomed to fail.
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of people will try to blame scenarios like this. Oh, it's the Black woman. Oh, it's the Black man. Oh, it's just marriage is outdated. No, you want to get advice and information about almost anything else besides how to build a strong family and a marriage. You didn't want to take the time to observe this man or woman and get to know who they were before you jumped in bed with them and jumped in this romance with them. You did not want to get the advice of credible family members who have strong marriages. You did not want to take the time to learn about the opposite sex, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a psychological and mental standpoint. So now you've gotten yourself into this relationship and you both are unprepared to make it last. And then when it's not working, you still don't take out the time to go and make corrective measures. You blame each other or just blame the entire race. And that's the problem. But I want to hit back on this disrespect thing, because, I know that it's a key to building strong marriages, and people have, and women and just people in general have such a tainted perspective on this. And I know that I did at one point too, because what we think of as disrespect as women is not the same definition many times men are talking about. And I gave this example to Noma, how recently I told my sons, I got on to them about not doing something I asked them to do. And I said, if you don't do this, then I'm going to give you this certain punishment, right? And so when my husband got on, I'm like, yeah, babe, the boys, they weren't doing this and they weren't doing that. And so I told them, if they don't do it, then these are going to be the consequences. And he said, no, I think that's too strict. I think you need to try maybe this or that. And I said, oh, you think that's too harsh? Okay, well, we'll do something else. We'll do whatever you suggested pretty much. And at a time when I had less knowledge about respect, I would have been like, wait a minute, I already told them. I mean, I would have felt justified saying, how you just gonna waltz up in here? I've been with these kids all day, and you're gonna tell me you're gonna change the punishment? I mean, what do you even have to do with it? I'm their mother, whatever. I would have just, even if I had a cross look or an attitude, that would have been disrespect to him. And it's not about being abused or having low self-esteem. It's about being cooperative. It's about being agreeable. And so my sons, because they already know that daddy is the leader, I'm just going to go to them and say, well, daddy said this punishment is too harsh. but this is what we're going to do. He said, we're going to do it like this, you know, and that's just an example of respect.
Right. And another layer of that is that those are boys, you know, so a man, I feel actually has a better handle on how to raise boys, you know, from that perspective. But I completely agree with you. I think that when we finally get on board about taking as much time and giving as much energy and everything that we can to building our families and specifically our marriages, we will start to see Black families and the Black community restored. It's not something that you can bypass. I don't care what you've heard. You just can't bypass this, because if you can't internalize this, you're recreating more of it. And I keep going back to the fact that he says, you know, she's just surrounded by a bunch of women and then they say something to her. So basically you can actually hear from what he's saying that she would rather hear what these people are saying to her than give her husband enough respect and authority in their union to say, okay, this is how you want to do things. I'm going to go along with what you're doing. It doesn't mean she's stupid. It doesn't mean she can't think. It just means that she understands her role. If you take it out of marriage or the context of family and all that, and you talk about football or you talk about basketball, we all understand our positions and our roles, and it would be detrimental to the team if one person just decided they were going to abandon their role and take on somebody else's. It would confuse the whole team and they would lose. And that's what it is. They lost. They're on a losing team because now look at the businesses on the street. And fortunately, they didn't have any kids because those kids would have been devastated. There's just so many things that are flying out here. And I think it's important to highlight that we're not talking only about Jill Scott and her husband. We're talking in general about the things that we can do, the things that we can look at in ourselves and see how we can correct.
Exactly. You know, again, people think that they can just get around this issue by saying marriage is outdated and Black men and Black women is. But the bottom line, I don't hear nobody saying we're going to stop having babies, we're going to stop having sex, that we're going to stop having companionship. So we know that we have to understand how to build relationships. And when we, like you said, when we invest in building relationships, and really one way is by getting our young people, getting them young. You know, I talk to my sons about, you need a woman who knows how to cook healthy for you. You see this food mommy's making for you, you're going to have a wife who can cook like this for you and your kids. You know, these are the things, and they're 9 and 12. We're not instructing our children, you know, and then you have grown women out here who have never been instructed and don't want to hear from anybody, don't want to invest the time into learning. And I'm going to give a shout out to Art Cathy. She's an ancestral matchmaker. But something that she said was funny is she was like, you know, we put all of this time into a degree, like you said, like a man is going to get aroused by your degree. You know, I mean, he's not aroused by that. You know, you have to be a woman that is fun and peaceful to be around. And I'm talking to the women because I was there. That's why we have marriedwomensbiz.com. We share this type of information, and that's what we need to do as a community. We need to be sharing this with our young women out here in these 20s, 18, 19. We've got to attack and aggressively attack these stereotypes that are coming out at the Real Housewives of Atlanta and the Love and Hip Hop. I mean, you know, no disrespect to these people out here, these entertainers earning a living, but we have to understand that the entertainment industry and that whole media thing is against us when it comes to building our images and building our families. It is destroying us. So, you know, that young lady who has she knows all about Love and Hip Hop, and she knows whose boutique is here and whose restaurant is there off the TV shows. Does she know how to love a man? You know, and if you're a single mother out there, you need to commit yourself to, you know, you weren't raised in that type of family with a man. You need to commit yourself to learning about men and giving that respect to your sons and to your daughters, teaching them about these things. You know, this is how we're losing. It's not that Black marriage is losing. It's not that Black men and women are bad. It is us taking on our responsibility of building these marriages right. That is why they're failing.
Right. And I've been saying it for a long time that in the Black community, we need heroes. You know, we need people who are highly responsible, accountable, and approach marriage, family, the Black community with a high level of maturity. And already the way this is shaping up, it's horrible. It's ugly. It's ugly to look at. And honestly, I feel like, I feel better because I feel like they should have just annulled the whole thing. But anytime a Black family had the potential to grow and become something, and then it dissolves and it gets nasty and ugly and we have to watch it get that way, that really is sad. Because again, there are people who are only informed by these things. That's all they see, and that's what they believe is a reality or what is true. So I think it's really important for women like you. You know, you've been married for over 14 years. I've been married for almost 13. It's important for women, and, you know, not just 13 and 14 years or whatever, 20 years, 30 years, but women who have good, healthy marriages to speak out and to say what it is that they know, and to guide their sisters, and to say something when you see stuff like this, because you're competing ultimately with what you said, love and hip hop, Housewives of Atlanta, all of these things. Some people actually see those things and believe that that's how we're supposed to conduct ourselves, and it's the exact opposite.
Insecure, like
right. We were just having that conversation,
that are contrary to what it is to be a Black man and what it is to be a Black woman, and then you run into each other like a collision and blow up, and then blame each other. That's the thing that gets me. Like, it's so annoying to me when people say, "Oh, it's Black women. Oh, it's Black men." And first of all, I've seen this type of behavior in other communities. I'm not gonna even go there, and I've seen a lot worse, because how do you come back from bestiality, you know? But anyway, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to focus on your... I
think you already went there.
I'm focus on your Black world, because the thing is that, you blaming Black men, you blaming Black women, but you know that you're a mess. You know what I'm saying? You know that you disrespecting your man. You know that you're provoking him. You know that as a man, you're being weak. You're not standing up to the.
I think they know. I think some people don't know, Shaquita.
I mean, people know what they want to know. They know what they want to know, because when it comes to trying to figure out how to put a weave in, or how to, do the latest dance, it's like we have to get rid of these excuses, because the protection of our community, the protection of our children has to do with Black men and women coming together. We cannot do it separated. It's no way. We've got children being attacked by Caucasoid children, attempted hanging. We've got attempted poisonings. We've got all kinds of things happening to our children because we can't get along long enough to sit down with our kids and equip them. And they're supposed to be the future. I mean, our day is pretty much done. The sun is set on us. What is the next generation being left with? What kind of information? Oh, let's do these all of this deviant sexual behavior and all of this, you could dress like a man or a woman and you can do all of this kind of stuff. This is the kind of thing that when we see this type of information, we have to start taking this stuff to heart, because this is our lives. I mean, again, we're using this as example because one thing, a person may not know a lot of things, but they know who Jill Scott is. They don't know nothing about how to code nothing, but they'll know all the Jill Scott songs. Mm-hmm. So we use that entertainment on these entertainment profiles and stories to really bring out these issues. And like I said, I think that, taking the time to get information about how to treat a man, how to treat a woman is everything for us.
Right. And one last thing I'll say is that you have to also understand that when you walk into a marriage, it's not just about you. Granted, it's about the couple, but it's about so much more than you. It's about your future, sons, daughters, granddaughters. It's about your community. It's about your family collectively, what you're pulling them into, tying them to other people. There's so much more to it, which is why I think it's important to really have people think about that and see how big that is, and be more mindful of the choices and decisions that we make and how we conduct ourselves before and after we walk into marriage.
Let me say another thing, because this is a very important topic as you bring this up, because you're talking about generations are built upon these relationships. And for people who want to believe and want to spew the nonsense that, marriage is just not for men or for women or for the Black community, how do you think that we're going to do this? Like, how are we going to build families when we don't have commitments? Like, men and women don't have commitments. So you can have sex with this person and have a baby, and then what is your daughter supposed to do? She's supposed to just get in another random relationship with no commitment? Is that the suggestion? Because I don't understand where these people come from. Like, how do you keep wealth in the family when there's no legal contracts? How do you build when, it's like 1 minute daddy's sleeping in this bed and he's sleeping in the next bed, or mama or whatever, there's no
code of conduct. How do you even create a code of conduct when everybody's everywhere and all over the place?
Right. We need a focus on one unit. And I hear people talk about polygamy and all of that, and maybe it does work somewhere. But the bottom line is, if you cannot have one, I've heard polygamists say you need to first start with one strong one. Mm-hmm. And believe me, if you got some time after that, I want to meet you. I want to know what the heck you're doing, because after I keep one person satisfied and deal with that one family unit, but whatever, the whole thing is about committing. And then the other thing is, women who have a problem with respecting Black men, with you even talking about that, even talking about submission. They don't have a problem when they in the conference room with Jeff and them, and they ask them to do something. That's where the disrespect starts, because you respect white Jesus, you respect Pastor Porkchop, you respect Tyrese and them, you respect Lil Wayne and them. But when it comes to your man trying to build with you and tell you some things like, I don't like that ugly, messy weave on your head, then you got an attitude. And that's where we have to stop. We have to of course, you have to find the right man to follow. It's not just any man. We're talking about a real Black man here, not what you see on these TV shows. And that's a shame, because a lot of times we're willing to follow these idiots. We'll follow an idiot. But then when it comes to somebody who got some sense, oh no, he too plain, or I don't know what they say these days, boring, whatever, and that is where your life is. Your life needs to be with somebody who is stable.
But I saw some clarity I'm sure in that he ended up with her. We could probably find that he's not perfect either. Oh, but I heard some things that he said that showed me that he had some clarity. He said that she's in the habit of emasculating men. So that's not going to work. He says she's in control. He said that whatever she wants it to go the way she wants. And honestly, that just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Now, I'm sure, like I said, there's probably things that she could say about him. The first thing would be that he picked her. But you got to think about the fact that, and I said this to you earlier, I was like, I hear this too often to dismiss it, where men complain about these exact things about women. And I'm sure there's men advising other men who also hear from women, and they have, similar complaints. And some of it, I believe, honestly, is that whole TV parenting, where we get most of our information and conditioning from TV. Most of the Black men that you will see on TV are emasculated. They arrive emasculated, and all their characters are emasculated, and they're cooning and acting stupid. But unfortunately, when you have nothing else being modeled for you, that's what you're going to take as a reality. And that's really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean, I said this before, and I'm going to keep saying this. Like, all entertainers, Because like literally we've seen over and over again how entertainers ultimately come out as an enemy to the Black community. These people are handpicked to be clowns and mascots for racism, white supremacy in many, most, if not almost all cases. They are put on these racist, white supremacist television channels run by racist, white supremacists for that very purpose. So your musicians out here, all of these Black celebrities, you need to be suspecting that their agenda is for racism, white supremacy, and you need to be making our youth aware that they are an enemy to their future and not to follow them. So, you know, that's something that we really as a Black community need to get a grip of, because we are told that these are our leaders and we follow the heck out of them. Our kids follow them. That just shows, I mean, if somebody can go on TV wearing a certain color or a certain brand and then all the kids want to wear that, that's just showing you that is, you know, they're getting their information and their direction from these people. And, you know, that's something that we just have to stop doing. I had another point I wanted to make, which it kind of escapes me right now, but it was so important. I want to come back to, Noma, did you want to say some things to wrap us up real quick? And hopefully I can remember before we get out of here.
Now you're going to put me on the spot. I had said everything I had to say.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I mean, the message here
I know what it is.
Oh, good.
Because we're both, you and I are both very career and business focused. I mean, you were a professor and you worked hard to be that. You're a businesswoman now. And, you know, I have a career and business. So Jill Scott is one of those women, you know, that obviously is very career driven and focused. And many people mistake that having those desires for being someone who will not succeed in marriage, because they will, just by virtue of being that way, emasculate their men. And I think we need to take note of this to say that there is a way to be successful with that. And that's why we had a whole webinar series about winning in business and marriage. But it's a delicate balance, because you have so much power in this one arena, and you're directing men, and you're directing women, and you may even be working with your spouse. And there is a delicate dance to be had there, because I can just imagine Jill Scott with everything she has going on, just by mistake being disrespectful, if not on purpose. I mean, I don't know whether what he says is true or not, but I know that career-driven women, you know, you don't have to be a person that's all about just cooking and cleaning and taking care of kids and stuff. Some men do want that, but I'm just saying that if you are a career woman and you are a businesswoman, you just have to tweak it a little bit when it comes to that marriage, and you have to be one thing at a time. That's one of the tips that we had in our webinar.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you were frozen there for a second, Shaquita. I was going to agree with you and say that, listen, if you can go to college and take all those statistics and what have you courses, or even if you don't go and your career or your whatever it is your endeavors are, get to such a high level of success, and your brain can figure out all the things that you need to do to get up to that level, your brain should also be able to figure out, okay, if you are willing, what works in your marriage or what will work. And if you don't know, then you should be able to go find the information or find the resources to figure it out so that it works. I just don't believe that whole thing about, oh, because she's very ambitious and successful, then that means that no, you really don't know that, you don't know where things apply and when they don't apply. Of course you do. You know, when you're talking to your employees, it's a different conversation than when you're talking to your clients or your fans or whatever it is. So you should be able to also educate yourself and take the time to realize that this is also another set of skills and another way of functioning. And if you don't figure it out, it won't work. And nobody cares about all your excuses.
Yeah, and I think too, that comes from us not being willing to invest in learning that is not submitted to us by white stream media or, you know, mainstream. Okay, so people tell us you need to go to Stanford, you need to go to Harvard, you need to go to wherever. You're willing to invest $250,000 in that so you can get a $40,000 job. Anyway, but you won't invest $5.99 to learn about how to build a marriage. You won't invest in something like the Black Business School and learn how to get your finances under control, because you don't believe that if it's not Stanford, it can't be important. It's stuff like that we have to overcome. I am happy for the people that I've been able to help with blacktechlab.net, but considering that the average income in the Black community, or average annual income, is like $40,000, you should have like tons of people lining up to learn how to build a six-figure tech career. Or like you said, considering all the things that's happening in the school system with our kids, they should be lined up to learn your course about homeschooling your kids, or even firing your boss. You got IDon'tWantABoss.com, right?
Yep.
So this is some of the problem. We want to learn the latest dance. We want to learn, what so-and-so is wearing on this season of such and such, and who they're sleeping with and who they're not sleeping with and who they're cussing out. That's the thing that, like you said, the excuses, we've got to get away from that. But anyway, we could talk about that forever. And the reason why we can is because we love you guys and we want to see success in the Black community and in the Black household. That's why we have marriedwomensbiz.com. We're soon going to be starting up the webinar series on winning in business and marriage. I told you guys about blacktechguy.net. Nomalanga is taking the time to do IDon'tWantABoss.com. So there's so much out there for you. We appreciate you viewing. We appreciate all the emails. Noma, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, just thank you everybody for watching. And of course, thank you, Shaquita.
Thank you, Noma. We'll see you guys in the next video.